I see every argument like a string of clues. Slammed doors, half-phrases left hanging in the kitchen light, the slow retreat of a voice into silence. From above, the scene is clear. Anger arrives like thunder, withdrawal follows like winter, and longing, quiet, stubborn longing, stays behind to catalogue what was said and what was meant. This is not chaos, it is evidence, and evidence, properly read, points to a truth. Outcomes are not handed down by fate. They are written, line, by choices. You have been cast in the central role more times than you know. The narrative your life follows depends less on the sparks you encounter and more on how you tend the flame. A measured breath becomes testimony. A single, simple question, "What do you need right now?" moves the plot away from accusation and toward repair. A habit changed, small and consistent, rewrites the margin notes into a different ending. Restraint, here, is not emptied feeling. It is a skill, deliberate, trained, and quietly fierce. When a man is pushed to the edge, he leaves fingerprints. The tone he adopts, the memory he insists on keeping, the story he repeats to himself, these are the clues others will use to predict what comes next. If signals are misread, it is rarely only the other's fault. Someone must recalibrate. Someone must close the gap between intention and action. That someone can be you. This is not a lecture. It is counsel from a vantage that has seen how wars of feeling are won. The battlefield favors the composed strategist more than the loudest fighter. Choose composed questions over crushing statements. Choose to hold your hand back when the instinct is to strike. Choose to show up again and again with small, steady acts that align with the man you want to be. The final clue in every frayed tie points inward. Mastery of reaction. Ownership of choice. The courage to be steady when everything wants you to react. It is an epic to live into. Quiet as a hearth and vast as the sea. Escolher a paz é ato de coragem silenciosa. Choosing peace is an act of silent courage. I watch the scene unfold as if from a slow camera, drifting above a crowded room of small detonations, slammed doors, curt text replies, the quiet of a couch where two people sit like islands. Each gesture is a clue. A jaw tightened in mid-sentence, a hand hovering over a phone that never quite leaves the table. Words that begin as observation and harden into accusation. These are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of reaction, a trail that leads back to one decision after another. Anger arrives first in obvious colors. Raised voice, pointed blame. It sounds justified, righteous. Withdrawal follows in softer shades. A late-night silence that thins trust until it breaks. Longing lingers like a scent that both soothes and torments. A reach for what was, a wish for what might be. I know what each of these clues will summon next because they always do. The plot advances when someone answers the signal without pause, when instinct dictates retaliation, when habit replaces intention. Yet here is the pivot. Restraint is not absence. It is a skill you practice. A measured breath before the reply becomes a small revolution. A deliberate question. "Help me understand what you mean," redirects the scene from accusation to inquiry. Changing one habit, leaving the phone in another room during dinner, or letting a hurt dissolve into a calm explanation, shifts the narrative arc. These are tactical moves, not theatrics. They are the quiet maneuvers that turn escalating conflict into a chance for repair. When a person is pushed to the edge, the evidence they leave is clear. Defensiveness, retribution, silence. When a signal is misread, trajectories bend toward blame unless someone stops them. The truth, unavoidable and simple, is that power in a relationship is less about domination and more about mastery. Mastery of your reactions, your timing, your assumptions. You are the protagonist who can change the ending. Choose the skill of restraint. Choose the question over the retort. Choose to own your role and to respond with intention. Choosing peace is an act of silent courage. You have watched the clues gather like footprints in rain, the flare of anger that burns bright and passes, the small withdrawals that widen into distance, the longing left like a cigarette ember in an ashtray. From above, the pattern is clear. It is not fate, nor the other's mood, but a series of choices that write the ending. I tell you this not to shame, but to hand you the map. A relationship is a ledger of actions. Every tightened jaw, every slammed door, every unasked question leaves a deposit. When the ledger is full, it becomes the evidence of who steered the ship. And when signals are misread, when one partner interprets a silence as conquest or a question as accusation, the course goes off its bearings. Someone must recalibrate. That someone is often you. Restraint is not a void. It is a tool. It is the steady hand that rewrites a draft before the ink dries, a deliberate breath at the apex of outrage, one clarifying question instead of an assumption, a new habit that replaces reaction with curiosity. These are the actions of a man who refuses to be played by impulse. Practice them like craft. They are not weakness. They are the architecture of trust. Look inward for the final clue. When pushed to the edge, ask what evidence you leave behind. Do your exits echo with blame, or do they carry a note of accountability? Do you respond to provocation with escalation, or with a measured step toward repair? Owning your reactions does not mean excusing another's faults. It means reclaiming agency, choosing how you move through your story. This is an invitation. Be the decisive, composed protagonist your life needs. Learn the small rituals that tilt arguments toward understanding. The pause, the question, the pledge to return and repair. These are not dramatic acts, but daily mercies. The quiet workmanship that saves an epic from collapse. Choosing peace is an act of quiet courage.